Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me. My name is Alex McKnight, and I am a professional photographer. I'm going to start out by saying what I don't do. I don't really do family portraits. So that's what most people, I think of when they think of photographers. But all you have to do is look around you, and you'll see photographs that are taken by another kind of photographer. That would be someone like myself. We are referred to as commercial because we license our images to businesses in order to use them for advertising. Or we're editorial, meaning we license our images to magazines so that they can use them on their front cover or to illustrate. And sometimes I will work directly with a corporation in order to help them tell their story. So rather than a wedding and portrait person, I am on the other end of the spectrum. So without further ado, I'm just going to run through a bunch of images, kind of give you a hint as to what it is that I do. And then at the end, we can open it up to any questions or comments or anything like that. So we're going to start, and I'm going to start by sharing my screen. And that would be this one right here. I'm going to click there. Oops, hold on. I thought I did that right, but apparently I did not. So let's try that again. Screen one. I don't know why that keeps doing that. Okay. But I want that other screen up too. There we go. Okay. Cool. Let me do this real quick. Can I have... I want to just make sure everybody can, I want to make sure you can see my screen. Can you see my screen at this point? Okay. All right. Sorry. Let me keep going here. Let me try. It should be that. Why does it keep doing that? How about now, Meredith?
Yes, we can see it now. It's
okay, cool. All right. So so I can't see my controls. So let me make one adjustment if I could. View. I'm going to have to show my presenter notes, which is a drag. Okay. Is that good size on your screen?
It is on mine, yes.
Okay, cool. Then we're just going to go with this. So I shoot people. Let me see. I'm going to go to that one. And how do I? Okay, let's do this. Let's start. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. Okay. Sometimes I shoot environments and details early in the morning before the sun is even up. Sometimes we get to have fun. Sometimes it's a little bit scary. Sometimes unexpected. I shoot business people. Some are spiritual. Some are thoughtful. Some are a bit quirky. You guys might recognize Billy Mays, the OxyClean guy on the right-hand side there. And some are way out there. This is the former head of Mozy. Some are enjoying their 15 minutes of fame. Others are with us a whole lot longer. Sometimes I do strange things in order to get your attention. And sometimes it's just a smile. But no matter what, I create. I shoot advertising people, This was a billboard for GTE back in the day. Drinking Joffrey's coffee. Watching HSN on TV. Golfing. Some of you may recognize Arnold Palmer. Observing. That was for the Florida Aquarium. And being observed. I shoot real doctors and glass doctors. Farmers and fashion. Indoors and out. So how do I get this work is a question I'm often asked, and I do it through marketing. I promote myself. So we're in a very creative business, so I have to be somewhat creative. So I came up with this, I shoot people for a living. And this would be an email promotion that I would send out to a potential client. And then when they got it in their email, they would simply just click on the enter. And that would take them right to my website. And then sometimes I have to follow up with postcards. This was when All Children's Hospital was being built or rebuilt. So I just simply take the image that I like and I put it into an email and create one of these little promotions. Some of you may recognize Plies as a Florida rapper. This is the director of tourism for Tampa Bay. And as I change the way I shoot, the way I am, the way I'm growing, so does my promotion. So this is the newest kind of stuff I'm sending out. Sometimes it's best just to let the images do the talking, I think. That is former Miss America. And now she lives here in the Tampa Bay area. This was a piece I did for University of Tampa on tattoos and where to put them so you can still be a business person or where not to put them. He's the president of an organization called Square Mouth. Oh, there's a pause. So one of the things I get asked an awful lot is, how do I make my decisions on how to shoot something? And I would like to say that it's my vision. It's the way I see someone. And typically I'm trying to tell a story about that person. So I tend to put that person up front and put them into an environment that might give you a hint as to what they do. This would be a farmer sitting on his loading dock, getting ready to send out some stuff. Obviously a surfer in Australia. Obvious. This is Tanya. Melissa. This used to be the CEO of Checkers. This was the director of the Port of Tampa. This was an outtake from a shot I was doing of the gentleman in orange. And after we were done, I asked him if he'd bring his girlfriend in. And then they got into a little bit of an argument. And this is what happened. I loved it. These are some images that I created for an organization called the Crisis Center. And so I donate my work when certain organizations need some help. They work mostly with children and parents that are in distress. Let's put it that way. This was another version of one of my promos. The images on the top, on the right and left, are two of the kids I photographed. And then the promo is in the center there. This is from the Ringling Arts International Festival of the Arts. Sometimes I have to go shoot, let's call them events. But then I get to go back to work. These are 3 executives at Seminole Electric Cooperative. And then these are some images I shot while at the power plant of Seminole Electric. These are actually the coal area that powers the power plant. This is a business office I was shooting for. So I tell most of my stories with my eyes, just by looking around and seeing what I see, and then realizing that what sometimes is every day actually tells a whole lot more, or could tell a whole lot more of a story. Again, back at Seminole Electric, finding neat things. The one in the bottom right-hand corner, the gentleman walking across with the what some people consider a nuclear power plant, is actually their cooling towers. That was actually before the sun even came up. It's just starting to rise. This was from an airplane looking over the Sunshine Skyway. There's a little bit more fashion. And some portrait work for magazines. Again, person up front trying to tell the story of what they do. No, she doesn't pick tomatoes. She actually works with the migrant workers to help make sure that they are in good housing and well taken care of. This gentleman is a civil rights leader in Tampa. Behind him is the Woolworths building where he sat in at the lunch counter. It's the president of University of Tampa. This is a doctor of psychology. I kind of thought the trees in the background were all twisted and crazy, sometimes the way our brains feel. Back to our queen. This is the former head of Tech Data. And yes, don't get grossed out. That is a real live, no, a real not live body. This is a scientist who works with law enforcement to try and help determine when they do find bodies out in the wilderness or something, helps to determine how long they've been there and how they might have died. And then this is a shot I did for a magazine. Here's the shot as I did it. And here's the shot as they used it for the front cover of the magazine. So as you can see, I do a lot of different things, but they mostly deal with people and their environments and try and tell a story of what it is that they do in their lives. Because really, even though we all hope and want to have a job and a career, there's a whole lot more to our lives than that. Life is a journey. I'm sure you've heard that before. Well, my question is, what do you see? And that is truly the end of my presentation. So I'm going to pop out of share screen and then make it feel really awkward and see if anyone wants to ask me any questions. Hopefully you do, because that's sort of what I'm here for. And you can do that in the chat window if you'd like. If that is not working, which Meredith told me it might not be, I also believe you can share questions with Meredith afterwards.
Yeah.
So,
oops, sorry.
Okay. No, go ahead, Meredith.
They can also turn on their mic and ask questions.
Great. Then I'm going to bring this screen over here so I stop looking to my left. All right. Let's see.
Well, I'm going to get the ball rolling. I have a two-part question.
Ooh, excellent.
Okay. How did you decide, or how long have you been a photographer, and how did you get into it? And then the second part of that is, did you always know you wanted to photograph people, or when did you kind of come to that realization?
Oh, great. I love the second question, because the first question, I feel like I get asked an awful lot, and I still don't have a very good answer, other than I've been doing it for 25 years. And actually, I think I'm on my 26th year this year. So that's quite a ways. And I've been out on my own. I did 5 years as an assistant to other photographers. The first 2 years was with one photographer and his studio. He had 5 other assistants besides myself and 2 other photographers that worked there. So that's what we call a group studio. I worked there for 2 years. And then one of those photographers decided to leave and go out on her own. And when she decided to do that, she asked me to come along and be her first assistant. The first assistant is the assistant that really much is the in control kind of the studio and making sure that the photographer has everything that they need. As far as how did I get into it, it pretty much boils down to the fact that I'm not very good at drawing. I found the camera after going to the University of Florida and thinking that I was going to be a teacher. I started taking a couple art classes in my first year or two and realized how much I liked that much better. I didn't think of myself as an artist at that point in time in my life, but I realized quite quickly that I had something that I think I got from my mom. And so I continued on with that. and realized I wasn't very good with a pencil or paper. I wasn't so good in ceramics, not very good at painting. So the camera became a quicker way to get the end result. As far as when did I determine it was people? Well, that came about in kind of two ways. The first was my mentor, Christina Coxwell, who's now a photographer out in Texas. She was the one that photographed all the people. And the other two photographers at the group studio, they did more of products and locations and architecture and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed the interaction, the back and forth, the conversations that I would have with the subjects that we were shooting, and then working with Chris to try and tell that story. And I realized, even though when I went out on my own, that I would be challenging her for business, I decided that I was just more comfortable in that realm, interaction with people. So that would be my my question there, or my answer there, I should say. Thanks for asking that, Meredith.
Great, thank you. That was great. Does anybody else have any questions?
I have a question.
Sure. Who's Naniva? Am I saying that right? Nineveh?
Yes. How do you come up with ideas whenever you don't really, like, you can't really think of anything? How do you, like, get the creative juices flowing?
Ooh, love it. Okay, so I got to be honest with you, and I always will be. I am not very good at this part, okay? I don't consider myself very creative. Now, you might look back at the photos. I hope you look back at the photos and see some creativity there. But a lot of the time, you'll notice that I take photographs of people, what we refer to as on location, in an environment. I don't go into the studio a lot of time, because to me, the studio is sort of like having a blank piece of paper in front of you. If you were told, here's a blank piece of paper, here's a pen, maybe a drawing, you don't know where to start. You get a little intimidated with that blank piece of paper. It's a little scary to even put that first mark on the paper. So I feel the same way when I go into the studio, because the studio is sort of like that anything is possible. I could do it all with lighting. I could bring in a bunch of props. I could build a set. I could do all sorts of stuff. But most of the time, because my kind of work is about telling stories and introducing people to you, the reader, I want to shoot them where they work, or where they live, or where they're most comfortable, or where they're most uncomfortable. For instance, the doctor of psychiatry, I took him out, and really it was a matter of, he was out near the USF, University of South Florida area, and I wanted to photograph it outdoors. And so I knew of a beautiful nursery or plant garden, botanical gardens on the USF campus. So we took him there, and I go maybe an hour to an hour and a half prior to him arriving, and I scout it all out and try and figure out what might work. And I bring my assistants with me, and I'll photograph them in that place, an example, a place that might look good. So the shot that I shared with you had all those crazy trees in the background that were all interlaced, right? But there was another shot that I didn't share with you, and he's just sitting on a cement bench with a lot of pretty flowers and stuff around him. And so I oftentimes have to give the client, in this case a magazine, a couple of choices. So the other thing I've found is that I don't do this all by myself. I have normally 1 or 2 assistants, and I've worked with these gentlemen for a long time, and I trust them. And we work together to make sure that the shot is interesting, tells the story, and is somewhat creative. So Nineveh, if I said that right, or Nineveh, I don't think I'm super creative, but I have a kind of a formula where I put people in a place that I hope they haven't seen before. I bet you've seen a ton of photographs where someone's just standing in front of the sign that is their business, like a McDonald's sign or I don't know, a newspaper, the Tampa Bay Times. Someone would shoot them right out in front of the building with the Tampa Bay Times logo on it. To me, that is not very creative. To me, that is pretty obvious. So what I'm looking to try and do, and this is how I get away from that fearful word of being creative, is I'm trying to be not obvious, unobvious. I'm trying to figure out the right word for that. If anybody knows it, please let me know. So I hope that answered your question. Every shoot is different, so I honestly hardly ever know what I'm going to do until I get there, because I don't know what the location often looks like. But I do plan things. I do sometimes bring props or ask the subject to bring something. So that's one of the ways I can be creative. I hope that helps. Any other questions? Oh, come on, you guys. You know I like to talk. And there are no dumb questions. I'm sure you've heard that before, but I swear here it's true. Oh,
Mr. McKnight, it's Meredith. So
Hi, Meredith.
Hi. A couple of our students came on a little bit late, so I just
Okay.
wanted to let them know that they can email myself or their liaison, and they'll get the recording of this.
Sure.
And now I'm actually going to stop the recording and take the roll call, so students stay on, so I can call out your name and you can tell me what school you go to. And Mr. McKnight, thank you so much. That was very interesting. And yes, what would you like to say?
Just one more thing. If you missed some of the early images or wanted to see more of my work, you can obviously go to my website. You can either look up Alex McKnight in Google or just go to amcknight.com. Thank you very much for your time, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was fascinating.
Oh, great. Thanks, Barbara. I appreciate that.